The red stamp on the envelope glares at me, official and threatening. Certified mail, signature required. My stomach tightens as I slide my finger under the flap. The kitchen clock ticks loudly in the quiet morning, the sound almost mocking as I prepare for my bookstore interview, my chance to finally leave retail behind. I unfold the letter, and my world cracks open. Dear Miss Sullivan, this notice serves as final collection demand for $89,000 in outstanding student loans from Halston College. My coffee cup slips from my hand. It shatters against the linoleum, sending ceramic shards and hot liquid across my feet. I don't move. Your account has been transferred to National Recovery Services. The letter trembles in my hands as I scan for mistakes. There must be a mistake. But there's my social security number, printed in cold black ink, my birth date. A copy of my signature that looks enough like mine to make my blood run cold. I sink into a kitchen chair, the cheap metal legs scraping against the floor. 4 years of loans. 4 years of tuition, housing, meal plans, and textbooks, all while I worked double shifts at Joe's Diner, my uniform reeking of grease, my feet aching as I counted tips to make rent. 4 years at a college I never attended. The memory surfaces like a bubble breaking water. My SAT scores arriving during my final week of high school. Dad's face lighting up as he waved the paper. Any state school would be lucky to have you, Wren, he said, his voice warm with pride. First Sullivan to go to college. A week later, the dinner table fell silent when he walked in, tie loosened, eyes red, laid off after 26 years. The family savings already thin from Mom's medical bills the year before. It's just a gap year, I told myself as I tucked my Halston College acceptance letter into my desk drawer. Just until things get better. I can still feel the weight of Mom's hand on mine. Maybe next year, honey. Next year never came. My hands stop shaking as I dial Halston's financial aid office. The on-hold music plays 3 times before a bored voice answers. This is ridiculous, I say, keeping my voice steady. I never attended your school. I never took out these loans. A sigh from the other end, papers shuffling. We have all your enrollment paperwork right here, Miss Sullivan. The debt is valid. That's impossible, I say, my voice growing stronger with anger. I've been working in Riverdale since high school. I never set foot on your campus. Look, the administrator says, impatience creeping into her voice. Your signature is on every form. 4 years of registration, housing assignments. The debt is valid and now in collections. My fingers grip the phone tighter. I want proof. I want copies of everything you claim I signed. And I want to see whoever verified my identity when these loans were processed. A long pause. You can schedule an appointment with Mrs. Winters in financial aid, she finally says. But I'm telling you, this debt is legitimate. I hang up and immediately dial my mother. The phone rings 4 times before she answers, her voice cautious. Mom, I just got a collection notice for college loans, from Halston. $89,000. The silence stretches too long before she responds. Jess is coming for Sunday dinner. We can discuss it then. Mom. Not over the phone, Wren. Her voice is firm. Sunday. The line goes dead. I stare at my apartment walls, at the loan rejection letter from last week when I tried to secure funding for my coffee truck business, at the notice from my landlord about my rental application for the bigger apartment being under review because of credit concerns. My credit score has plummeted. My tax refund will likely be seized. My small business loan, the one I've spent 3 years building perfect credit to qualify for, is now impossible. I look back at the collection letter. The coffee dries sticky on the floor around my feet. The quiet panic I've been fighting turns to something harder, colder, as the pieces click into place. This wasn't a mistake. The way Mom deflected. The Sunday dinner with Jessa. My sister, who somehow graduated from a college I remember her failing to get into. This wasn't a mistake at all. I grab a towel to clean up the coffee. My movements mechanical. Each swipe across the floor feels like erasing another piece of the person I thought I was. Each shard of ceramic I pick up cuts a little deeper than the last. Someone took my name, someone took my future. And I'm almost certain I know exactly who did it. On Sunday, the morning sun streams through my parents' living room windows as I slip through the basement door. I never knock anymore, not since I started helping with the mortgage payments 5 years ago. The familiar scent of Mom's cinnamon coffee cake drifts down the stairs, but my stomach is too knotted to feel hungry. I head straight for Dad's filing cabinet. The metal drawer slides open with a familiar scrape. Inside, the manila folders stand in neat rows, labeled in my father's precise handwriting. Mortgage, insurance, medical, tax records. And there, at the back, a folder labeled education. My fingers tremble as I pull it out. Inside are two separate files, Jess's college and Ren's financial aid. My name, my financial aid, for a college I never attended. I sink onto the basement sofa, the springs groaning beneath me. Inside Jess's folder, buried beneath her acceptance letters and transcripts, sits a familiar document, my SAT score report, the one Dad had waved proudly in our kitchen nearly a decade ago. Next to it, my birth certificate, my medical records, my social security card. I almost miss the trash can, as bile rises in my throat. The stairs creak behind me. Dinner's almost ready, Mom calls. Jessa and Bradley just got here. I tuck the folders under my arm. Coming. In the dining room, they're already seated Mom, Dad, Jessa, and her boyfriend Bradley, a finance executive with carefully styled hair and a watch that probably cost more than my rent. Jessa wears her Halston alumni sweatshirt, crimson with gold lettering. The school colors I never knew. No one has set a place for me. I remain standing as Mom heaps Bradley's plate with pot roast and potatoes. Bradley was just telling us about the gallery that's interested in Jessa's work. She says, beaming at my sister. That's wonderful, I say, my voice flat. I drop the folders onto the table. Gravy sloshes over the rim of Dad's water glass, almost as wonderful as finding my identity scattered throughout Jessa's college records. The room goes silent. Dad's fork freezes halfway to his mouth. What were you doing in our files? Mom asks, her voice sharp. What were you doing with my social security number? I counter. Dad sets down his fork carefully. We borrowed your identity, Ren. It was the only way to get Jessa through school after I lost my job. Borrowed? The word tastes acidic. You can't borrow someone's identity. It was the practical solution, Mom says, serving Bradley another helping of potatoes. Your credit was perfect because you never used it. And I was saving it, I say, my voice rising. For my business loan. For my life. Jessa shifts in her seat, eyes darting between our parents. I didn't know all the details, Ren. They just told me the financial aid was taken care of. In my name. I open the folder labeled Ren's financial aid. Inside, loan documents bear my signature, or something close enough to fool a financial aid officer. With my forged signature. The house feels suddenly small, the dining room table an island surrounded by rising water. On its surface, our family's choices laid bare between the serving dishes. You'll understand when you're older, Mom says, as if I'm still 16 instead of 28. Sometimes families make difficult choices. Back in my apartment, the evidence of their difficult choices surrounds me. A tax refund seizure notice stuck to my refrigerator. The small business loan denial letter citing excessive outstanding debt. My coffee truck business plan and designs pushed to the corner of my desk, buried under collection notices. I pick up my phone and call Jessa. This isn't fair, I tell her when she answers. You know that, right? A pause. Technically, this isn't identity theft since we're family, she says. Dad checked. That's not how the law works, Jessa. Look, I'm sorry you're upset, but I've got interviews with galleries now. Real opportunities. What would you have me do? Give the degree back? The silence stretches between us, filled with years of unspoken imbalance. Mom's right, you know, she adds. You were always good with money. I needed the degree more than you did. You're smart enough to figure this out without ruining everyone's lives. The next morning, I drive to Halston College, the campus I never walked, to meet with Mrs. Winters in financial aid. The brick buildings and manicured lawns feel like a foreign country. Mrs. Winters is older than I expected, with silver-rimmed glasses and careful hands that turn the pages of my file. I've been reviewing your documents, she says, glancing at the door before leaning forward. There's a discrepancy in the handwriting on different forms. She points to signature lines dated years apart. These aren't written by the same person. For the first time since opening that certified letter, I feel a flutter of hope. As I drive home that evening, I wonder if I should immediately report my family for fraud, or try one more time to make them understand what they'd done to me. Confronting them might push them away forever, but letting this slide would mean living with this debt for decades. What would you do when the people who should protect you become the ones who harm you most? The doorbell rings at 8 in the morning. Another certified letter. My fingers tremble as I sign for it, though not from fear this time. The anger that's been building feels almost like a comfort now. Something solid to stand on while the rest of my life crumbles. This one's from the Department of Education. I don't bother making coffee before opening it. What's the point? My kitchen still smells faintly of the last cup I dropped. Notification of federal tax refund seizure, the header announces. The $1,200 refund I'd counted on for next month's rent gone. My phone buzzes with a text from my father. The family is worried about you, Ren. This vendetta against your sister has to stop. I toss the phone onto the couch and grab my jacket. 20 minutes later, I'm standing in front of my landlord, Mr. Daniels, watching his expression shift from friendly to concerned as he reviews my rental application for the larger apartment, the one with the proper kitchen I'd need for testing coffee recipes. There seems to be a problem with your credit score, he says, not quite meeting my eyes. I'll need an additional security deposit. 2 months, instead of 1. I nod mechanically. How much total? $1,800. He slides the paper across his desk. Plus, first month's rent. $3,000 I don't have. Won't have. Not with my tax refund seized. I understand, I say. Though I don't. Not really. How can a life I never lived cost me so much? That evening, I jump when my phone rings. The screen shows unknown caller. My finger hovers over decline. The 4th collection call today. But what if it's the bookstore about my interview? Hello? My voice sounds smaller than I intend. Miss Sullivan? A man's voice, official and cold. This is Marcus Wilson from National Recovery Services. I'm calling about your delinquent student loan account. My heart hammers against my ribs. There's been a mistake. We've heard that before. He interrupts. Our records show you received multiple notices. Payment arrangements must be made immediately or we'll have no choice but to proceed with bank account garnishment. My mouth goes dry. You can't. We absolutely can and will. Federal student loans provide us broad collection authority. After he hangs up, I pull out an old spiral notebook. On the first page, I write the date, time, and every word of our conversation. On the second page, I start a list of every text, call, and social media post from my family since the Sunday dinner disaster. Next morning, my debit card is declined at the grocery store. Red-faced, I put back the eggs and bread, keeping only a package of ramen. At the bank, a sympathetic teller confirms my fears. Your account has a Department of Education hold, she explains quietly. I'm sorry. I spend my lunch break in my car, recording another phone call with the collection agency. This one worse than yesterday's, NTET. When I return to work, my manager pulls me aside. Your sister called, she says. Something about being worried about your mental health? I almost laugh. Almost. The library has always been my sanctuary, especially since high school when Dad lost his job. Now I sit at a corner table, researching identity theft remedies on the ancient public computer. None of the options look promising when the thief is your own blood. Ren Sullivan? I look up to see Nancy Chen, the librarian who used to help me research scholarship applications I never got to submit. I thought that was you. She smiles, setting down her coffee. Still buried in books, I see. I manage a weak smile. Research project. She glances at my screen, her expression shifting. Identity theft resources? I hesitate, then nod. You always had the highest GPA in our class, she says, sliding over a business card. Someone should fight for your future too. Catherine Reeves is a friend of mine, specializes in cases like this. I can't afford a lawyer. Call her anyway, Nancy says. Just mention my name. Sunday arrives. I stand on my parents' porch, the same porch where I helped Dad replace rotting boards the summer after high school instead of moving into a college dorm. The kitchen light glows warm through the curtains, the kitchen where I helped pay the mortgage for years. My mother opens the door, surprise flickering across her face. We weren't expecting you. Clearly, I say, stepping past her into the house I once called home. She follows me to the kitchen. Ren, this has gone far enough. It was just paperwork. Why are you making such a big deal? Jessa has interviews at galleries now. The familiar dismissal ignites something in me. I turn to face her. My name isn't just paperwork, I say, my voice stronger than I've ever heard it. My future isn't just collateral damage for hers. I move to Dad's office, ignoring her protests. The filing cabinet's top drawer still sticks the way it always has. Inside, I find the folder labeled Ren Important Documents, birth certificate, social security card, high school diploma, everything they used to steal my life. I take the folder. What are you doing? Mom demands from the doorway. For the first time, I see it clearly. I've been erasing myself to make room for Jessa my entire life. But no more. Getting my name back, I answer. The next day, I sit across from Catherine Reeves in her small office downtown. She reviews my documentation without interruption, her expression growing increasingly grim. I'll take your case, she says finally. Pro bono. Why would you do that? Because what happened to you is unconscionable, she replies simply. And because Nancy vouched for you. 2 days later, Nancy provides a notarized statement confirming my continuous work history during my supposed college years. The manager at Joe's Diner does the same. People I barely know listen and believe me, while my own family dismisses my pain as inconvenient drama. With Attorney Reeves, I prepare 3 separate legal claims against Halston College for negligence, against the Department of Education for collection on fraudulent loans, and the hardest one, against my family for identity theft. My tech-savvy coworker recovers a deleted tweet from Jess's account. Lol at tricking FAFSA with my sister's info. Art school dreams coming true. Posted 4 years ago, then quickly removed. But nothing is ever truly gone from the internet. That evening, I drive to my parents' house one last time, document folder in hand. Through the window, I see balloons and a cake. A banner hangs across the dining room. Congratulations on the gallery position. I square my shoulders and ring the doorbell. The day after I met my family, the identity theft report felt heavy in my hands, each page a testament to what was stolen from me. I've organized every document chronologically, bank statements, showing I worked 60-hour weeks during my supposed sophomore year, pay stubs from Joe's Diner that overlap with dorm payments, and Mrs. Winters' signed statement confirming discrepancies in the handwriting across my financial aid forms. This is thorough, Attorney Reeves says, tapping her red pen against the conference table. Her office smells like leather and lemon furniture polish. Most victims struggle to separate the emotional betrayal from the legal facts. I've had practice compartmentalizing, I reply, sorting the documents into color-coded folders. Each label bears my name, not my sister's, not my parents' mine. 18 years of it. Catherine nods, understanding what I'm not saying. She reviews the final affidavit before sliding it across to me for signature. The Department of Education just called, she says, her voice carefully neutral. They've placed a temporary hold on collections while they investigate. My hand freezes mid-signature. It's the first tangible victory, small but significant, like the first time you feel solid ground after nearly drowning. What about Halston College? We submitted the formal negligence complaint yesterday. Their verification processes were abysmal. Catherine's eyes narrow. No one should be able to enroll using another person's identity without at least a photo ID check. The weight in my chest lightens fractionally. The machinery of justice turns slowly, but it turns. My phone buzzes with a text from my neighbor Ted. Someone trying to get into your apartment. Older guy. Told him you weren't home. Ice floods my veins. I forward the message to Catherine, who immediately pulls up the security app on her tablet. The footage shows my father pacing outside my door, trying his spare key, the one I forgot to ask for when I moved in 5 years ago. When the lock doesn't yield, he glances nervously up and down the hallway before slipping a thin metal tool from his pocket. Is he picking your lock? Catherine asks, disbelief coloring her voice. Looks like it. My father, who taught me to always respect other people's property, is attempting to break into my apartment. The footage continues. Ted approaches. My father stumbles through an explanation about checking on his daughter, then hurries away when Ted offers to call me. This actually helps your case, Catherine says, downloading the video. Attempted unauthorized entry suggests consciousness of guilt. They're getting desperate. Later that afternoon, my manager Cal calls me into his office. His usual easy smile is replaced with concern. Your sister just called. Said she's worried about your mental health, that you're making up stories about the family. He leans back in his chair. Wanted to know if you'd been showing up for work regularly. My throat tightens. What did you tell her? that discussing an employee's performance with unauthorized persons would violate company policy. His weathered face cracks into a smile. Also told her that in the 5 years you've worked here, you've never once called in sick during inventory week, unlike some people I could mention. He slides a paper across his desk. I documented the call. Figured you might need it. I tuck the paper into my folder, adding another piece to the growing evidence of their desperation. That evening, Attorney Reeves asks the question I've been avoiding. Do you want to press criminal charges against your parents and sister? The room suddenly feels too small. My coffee goes cold as I stare out her office window at the darkening sky. Would maximum justice heal the wound of betrayal? Or would leaving the door slightly open preserve any chance of reconciliation? The family I knew is already gone, destroyed not by my actions, but by theirs. Yet some childish part of me still yearns for them to simply apologize, to recognize what they've done. The next morning brings unexpected support. Mrs. Winters calls with news that makes my hands shake. I found internal emails, she says, her voice hushed. Dating back to your supposed freshman year. Questions about verification procedures being raised by a junior administrator and dismissed by the department head. They knew there were problems. Nancy from the library organizes a network of witnesses, my high school teachers, former co-workers, even regular customers from Joe's Diner who remember me working doubles during finals week of my junior year. The story breaks in the local newspaper 3 days later. She never went to college, but her name did. The headline stares up at me from the breakfast table, my school portrait next to it. The reporter quotes former teachers about my academic potential, contrasted with records of my continuous employment during the years Jessa was supposedly me. The article lays out the mechanics of the fraud without sensationalism, making the facts all the more damning. My aunt calls that evening not to criticize but to ask questions. She sounds subdued, uncertain. Your mother always said you chose not to go to college, that you preferred working. Did that sound like me, Aunt Linda? The girl who read encyclopedias for fun? Her silence is answer enough. My phone rings at 11:38 that night. My father's number. I almost don't answer, but some stubborn part of me needs to hear what he'll say. Ren. His voice sounds thinner than I remember. Can we talk about this? Without the lawyers? There must be some way to work this out. I say nothing, letting the silence stretch between us. Ren, please. Your mother hasn't slept in days. Neither have I finally say. Not for years. The call ends abruptly. 10 minutes later, my email pings with a notification from Catherine. Halston College wants a settlement meeting. I stare at the ceiling, watching shadows dance across it. Something has shifted. For the first time since opening that certified letter, I'm no longer drowning. I'm swimming towards shore. 2 days later, the doorbell rings 3 times in quick succession. I'm still in my pajamas, halfway through my morning coffee, when I open the door to find my entire family standing there like some twisted Norman Rockwell painting. Dad shifts nervously from foot to foot, hands stuffed in his pockets. Mom clutches a familiar blue baking dish, my favorite peach cobbler from childhood. Jessa stands slightly behind them, eyes red-rimmed and puffy. Can we come in? Mom asks, already stepping forward. I don't move from the doorway. I wasn't expecting visitors. This isn't a social call, Ren. Dad's voice has that forced authoritative tone he uses when he's terrified. We need to talk. We have a solution. I let them in because what choice do I have? They arrange themselves around my small living room while I remain standing, arms crossed. We've been discussing this situation, Mom says, placing the cobbler on my coffee table. And we think we've found a compromise everyone can live with. Dad pulls out a folder. We can make monthly payments to you $300 to help cover the loan payments. You keep everything quiet, and we all move forward. Your father and I will contribute from our retirement, Mom adds. It's the best we can do. Jessa finally speaks, her voice breaking. Please, Ren. If this gets out, it will destroy my career before it even starts. The gallery position they'd never keep me on. Everything I've worked for. Everything you've worked for? The words escape before I can stop them. We're family, Mom says, reaching for my hand. I pull away. Families protect each other. We made a mistake, but ruining Jess's future won't fix anything. I walk to my desk without a word and return with a cream-colored envelope. I wasn't planning to show you this until after I spoke with my attorney again. Dad's eyebrows furrow. What is that? I remove the letter inside and hold it up. This is a settlement acknowledgement from Halston College. They're accepting full responsibility for their failure to properly verify my identity during the loan application process. The room goes silent. And this, I continue, pulling out a second document, is the Department of Education's preliminary ruling clearing me of all responsibility for the loans. They've determined I was the victim of identity theft. Mom's face drains of color. But we're your parents. It's not identity theft? I finish for her. Yes, it is. That's exactly what it is. Dad stands, his face reddening. Now you listen here. No, you listen. My voice remains steady, but the anger burns hot in my chest. Family protects each other equally, not one at the expense of the other. Jessa begins to cry again, covering her face with her hands. You don't understand what this will do to me. A knock at the door interrupts us. I open it to find Bradley, Jessa's boyfriend, standing there with a confused expression. Sorry I'm late, he says, stepping inside before taking in the tension. Did I miss something? I thought we were discussing that loan forgiveness Jessa's been counting on. Jessa makes a strangled sound and grabs his arm. Bradley, not now. His eyes widen. Oh, is this not loan forgiveness? I ask, focusing on him. What loan forgiveness? Bradley looks between all of us. The student loan program Jessa applied for. She said you were all meeting to discuss how to handle the paperwork since it was. His voice trails off as he registers the expressions around him. 2 weeks later, I sit in a wooden chair in the county courthouse, my hands folded in my lap as I face the judge. Attorney Reeves stands beside me, her posture confident as she presents 4 years of my pay stubs, time cards, and tax returns. As you can see, Your Honor, she says, Miss Sullivan worked full-time, often more than full-time during every semester she was supposedly attending Halston College. These employment records are verified by multiple employers. The judge examines the documents, her expression neutral. When my turn comes to testify, I describe how discovering the loans affected my life. The destroyed credit, the denied apartment application, the small business loan rejection, the frozen bank accounts. It wasn't just money they took, I conclude. It was my future, my reputation, my name. When Jessa takes the stand, she starts with practiced tears and careful evasions, but under questioning, her facade crumbles. Yes, I knew, she finally admits, voice barely audible. I knew they used Ren's information for my loans. Dad said it was the only way I could attend. Mom said Ren wouldn't mind because she was good with money and could fix it later. The courtroom falls silent. And did you ever consider what this would do to your sister? The judge asks. Jessa stares at her hands. I just wanted to go to college. The judge's ruling comes swiftly. I am cleared of all loan obligations. Halston College must pay restitution for their negligence in verification. My parents are ordered to pay damages for the fraudulent use of my identity. As we exit the courthouse, Jessa receives a phone call. I watch her face collapse as she listens. The gallery, she whispers after hanging up. They've withdrawn their job offer. Someone from court called them. That night I sit alone in my apartment, surrounded by the aftermath. My phone buzzes with a text from an aunt I haven't spoken to in weeks. Is it true they might file criminal charges? I don't answer. I don't know what to say about any of it. The family that betrayed me, the sister who built her life on my stolen identity, the parents who thought one daughter's future was worth sacrificing another's. The knock at my door comes just after midnight. No one is there when I open it, but a small package sits on the welcome mat. Inside is my grandmother's antique locket, the only family heirloom I ever wanted, the one Mom had always promised to Jessa. No note, no explanation. Just the locket, now mine, sitting heavy in my palm like a question I'm not ready to answer. The brass key feels substantial in my palm as I unlock the front door of my new storefront. Morning light streams through the plate glass windows, casting golden rectangles across the polished concrete floor. I pause in the doorway, savoring the moment before stepping inside what is officially mine, just mine. Nervous? Attorney Reeves asks, clipboard in hand. Terrified, I admit, but my voice comes out steady. And ready. I sign the final lease documents, Ren Sullivan, in my own handwriting. No cosigners needed. Each stroke of the pen feels like reclaiming a piece of myself. 3 years after that collection letter arrived, my signature represents something I'm building, not something being taken away. Congratulations, business owner, Reeves says, handing me a copy of the lease. Your grandmother would be proud. I run my fingers over the embossed business cards in my pocket, genuine article books and brew. The name had come to me during a support group meeting for identity theft victims that I started organizing at the library last year. Something authentic, something real. Have you heard from them? Reeves asks, careful to keep her tone neutral. I shake my head. Not since the hearing. The sunlight catches on my grandmother's locket around my neck, the package left anonymously at my door after the court case. Inside, a faded photo of her at my age, eyes determined. I never discovered which family member sent it. Later that afternoon, I stood in the same bank where 3 years ago, a manager had pulled me into his office to explain why my accounts were frozen. The humiliation had burned so deep I could barely speak through it. Today, a different manager, Mr. Peterson, slides a folder across his desk. Your business loan application has been approved, Miss Sullivan. Your business plan was exceptional. I don't flinch at the sound of my own name anymore. Thank you. Thank you. And how should I address the checks? Ren Sullivan or... Ren Sullivan, entrepreneur, I say, the words no longer sticking in my throat. That evening, Nancy hosts a small gathering in her backyard. String lights twinkle overhead as Attorney Reeves raises her glass. The retired bookstore owner who mentored me lifts his glass, as do 3 other members of my support group. Family I've chosen. To names that mean something because we earned them, Reeves says. We clink glasses as cicadas sing in the warm evening air. 3 weeks later, I prop open the door of Genuine Article for the first time. The coffee machine hums, books line the reclaimed wood shelves, and my business logo featuring grandmother's locket hangs above the counter. My first customer is a college student who orders a latte and asks about the small business grant application framed beside the register. You're a finalist? She asks, impressed. Find out next month, I answer, pouring steamed milk into her cup. An older woman approaches the counter next, studying my face. I know you, she says quietly, from the newspaper. What your family did was awful, but how you stood your ground, that was brave. I stamp her coffee cup with my business logo, a locket with wings, and pass it to her with steady hands. Thank you, I say, meaning it. As I serve my first customers that morning, I wonder if some relationships are meant to be permanent, even when broken, or if sometimes the bravest thing is to write a new story without certain characters. What would you do? Keep trying to repair what was damaged, or focus on building something entirely your own? The bell above the door chimes again. Another customer. Another chance to introduce myself as exactly who I am.